Good evening and welcome. I'm Claire Van Blaricum, a member of the League of Women Voters of Santa Barbara Voter Service Committee and the moderator of tonight's forum. The League is sponsoring tonight's forum for the candidates of Mayor of Santa Barbara. The forum is being co-sponsored by the Santa Barbara Goleta Valley branch of AAUW, the American Association of University Women, and TV Santa Barbara. We hope this forum will inform you, the voters, of the candidates' views on issues of interest. The League does not support nor oppose any candidate. Following tonight's live stream on the League Facebook page, a recording of the forum will be available on the League's YouTube channel in both English and Spanish, and there will be a link to the YouTube recording on the League of Women Voters of Santa Barbara website. Thanks to Silvia Uribe of Transitional Pro, who is recording the Spanish language version of the forum, and also thanks to Television Santa Barbara, TV Santa Barbara, for their technical expertise in setting up this virtual platform. Candidates in attendance tonight are Kathy Murillo, incumbent, David Matthew Kilrain, Matt Kilrain, small businessman, Randy Rouse, downtown business owner, Deborah Schwartz, Santa Barbara Planning Commissioner, and Mark Whitehurst, PhD, publisher. There is also one candidate who is unable to be with us this evening, James Joyce III, a small business owner. Mr. Joyce has submitted a statement to the attending candidates' opening statements. Candidates, are you ready for your statements? Well, first of all, sorry about that. I should explain how the forum works for the audience. The candidates will make brief opening statements of 2 minutes each, and I will then read out Mr. Joyce's submitted statement. I will ask about 10 questions, depending on time available. Each candidate will respond with up to 1.5 minutes, 90 seconds. We will not be able to take any questions from the audience, something we always do in forums with a live audience in the same room. It is not technically feasible with this format. Following the questions, each candidate will give a closing statement of up to 2 minutes. I will rotate the order in which I ask the questions so everyone has a chance to go first and to be last. I will be acting as timekeeper as well as moderator, watching a countdown clock as the candidates are speaking. I will ask them to stop when their time is up, only completing the sentence they are on at that time. If everyone is ready, we will begin. Kathy Murillo, will you begin with your opening statement, please? 2 minutes.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for organizing this event tonight. It's an honor to serve as Santa Barbara's mayor, and I ask for your vote. I'm proud to have led the charge to make Santa Barbara a more progressive, just, and equitable city where everyone has the opportunity to succeed. I will continue to work hard, ensuring the well-being of our residents and enhancing the health of our natural environment. In my second term, I will build on all the work that I've done in the last 10 years, and I will build on the positive relationships that I have with city residents and staff, regional leaders, and school leaders. My focus will continue to be on reducing the impacts of homelessness and helping our homeless population. I will focus on creating jobs and housing opportunities, fighting for climate resiliency and tenants' rights, providing robust city services for our families, working with the business community on pandemic recovery, and always advocating for changes in our city government and police department so that we're responsive and transparent. And I am committed to racial and social justice as demonstrated by my record of accomplishment. My election is supported by many fine organizations, including the Democratic Party of Santa Barbara County, the Sierra Club, Latinas Lead California, the Central Coast Labor Council, Cause Action Fund, Planned Parenthood Action Fund, and the Tri-Counties Building and Construction Trades Council. I would be proud to be reelected as your mayor. Please vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Matt Kilrain, your opening statement, please, 2 minutes.
My name is Matt Kilrain. I go by Boat Rat Matt. I'm running for mayor. My 4 cornerstone agenda with multiple amendments. The first cornerstone to my agenda is to make Santa Barbara a safer place for kids to grow up. The second cornerstone of my agenda is to stop the middle class squeeze and to resolve the housing crunch. The third cornerstone of my is to make Santa Barbara the green power capital of the world. And within that, I will give the citizens of Santa Barbara more than $1 billion of green technology, along with a multi-billion-dollar business plan. Fourth cornerstone to my agenda is my Santa Barbara Economic Development and Waterfront Reformation Act. Flintstone amendment to my agenda, which is an anti-discrimination initiative that will stop people who use marijuana and people who refuse to get vaccinated from being discriminated out of the workforce. There's the Keystone Amendment to my agenda, which will make the citizens of Santa Barbara owners of the business of Santa Barbara, especially if they're born in Santa Barbara and they're Chumash, and they will receive a dividend and a pension. And now I'm working on a gemstone amendment, which will be our own currency traded among Santa Barbarians, and it will be value based on the quality of life in Santa Barbara. So if life sucks in Santa Barbara, then you lost a lot of money. And if life is good, compassionate, and on a high vibe, then you make a lot of money. And if I have more time, I can go on with more of my agenda. I'm here to lead Santa Barbara into the golden age. I'm here to take back Santa Barbara. I'm here to stop the divide. I'm here to raise the vibe. And I'm here to unite the 805.
Thank you.
Okay.
Randy Rouse, your 2-minute opening statement, please.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for their community involvement and for holding tonight's forum. I've been involved in the downtown of Santa Barbara for almost 40 years. And prior to that, I lived and I worked in the north side of town, managed a business there. Then I moved on to the west side. And after that, I moved to the Mesa, where Janet and I currently live and where we raised our 2 children. During my time as a business owner and employer, I experienced a number of city administrators and probably 6 different mayors and numerous council members. I became active in civic duties in 1992, the downtown parking system, and remained active in citizen committees involving business organizations. I was in the police station committee, the De La Guerra Plaza committee, and other targeted ad hoc committees that citizens could sit on. Eventually, I served on the city council for 9 years. In the course of canvassing for this campaign, the dominant theme that rises to the top, almost everyone's priority list, is partisanship. And that surprised me at first. I thought that homelessness, water, or housing would be the lead issue. But the presence of partisan bickering, dysfunction, and a lack of leadership has shaken people's confidence in City Hall's ability to address any of the other issues. The advent of our first fully districted elected council has been problematic in terms of protocols and priorities. The mayor's job should be to direct council's focus on the entire city, as every item before them involves the city at large. The civility and decorum of an elected body is important so that their constituents feel represented by a body that's put aside concern for all issues, ideologies, and concerns apart from their own interests. Santa Barbara is not in peril. Our residents and businesses are stronger and better than that, but they need a partner in City Hall. They want a partner in City Hall, and they deserve a partner in City Hall. And that is what I intend to provide. And thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. Deborah Schwartz, you're next with your opening statement. 2 minutes, please.
Thank you to the League and community members for watching the forum this evening. I am running for Santa Barbara City Mayor because I have the skills and knowledge to provide much needed leadership and a fresh voice as the city faces a critical crossroads. I've watched council meetings through the years, seeing how little has actually been achieved to address the growing crises now facing our city on top of the pandemic. Leaders are people who actually anticipate problems before they become crises. And of the 8 cities in our county, Santa Barbara has the highest number of homeless, and I find that unacceptable. We also have a worsening workforce housing shortage and economic uncertainty on top of that. My recently announced Santa Barbara SAFE plan will be an innovative strategy to provide housing for first responders while addressing environmental vulnerabilities of fire, earthquake, and sea level rise. Voters have told me personally that they lack confidence in our city leadership to pull the council and local stakeholders together to find the resources and solutions that will ensure a brighter future for us all, and our city deserves better. This is my 12th and last year on the Planning Commission, and I was one of 7 commissioners who authored our 20-year general plan. The mayor sets the agenda and the tone for the council and must ensure the council is prepared for debates that will shape the future of our city. I've learned how to facilitate those types of discussions as chair of the commission so they're productive and lead to decisive actions. And with that, I urge the community members to get engaged and to know I am ready to lead us forward day one. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mark Whitehurst, you're next. Your opening statement, please. 2 minutes.
Thank you, League of Voters, for this opportunity to share my thoughts with you. The first time I saw Santa Barbara, I felt that it was special. And then over time, I realized that it's the only place that has ever felt like home. I love it here. And as I move forward, I want to help revitalize Santa Barbara's economy and make it an even more beautiful place. I envision that through green businesses, the arts, and community collaborations. As a weekly newspaper publisher, community building has been my focus for 38 years. From that perspective, I see a need for a strong city agenda, as well as a decisive, collaborative, and relationship building mayor. After 3 successful startups, which honed my entrepreneurial skills and leadership skills, I joined the race for Santa Barbara mayor. Because of my relationships, my family, and my long-standing business, my community connections run deep, and I'm ready to get to work for you. Thank you.
Thank you. I will now read out James Joyce III's opening statement as he submitted it to us. Hi, my name is James Joyce III, and I've been on the front lines of local government for the last decade. As the district director for Senator Hannah Beth Jackson, I met with constituents like you all every day with the intention of actively solving their issues and improving our community. I know firsthand the wants and needs of our community, and I know I'm running for mayor to bring people together and unite our community. I know what it means to have difficult conversations and seek compromise. This has been a passion of my life and the driving force behind my community initiative, Coffee with a Black Guy. I look forward to bringing this new approach to the city of Santa Barbara and leading us to the better days that lie ahead. As mayor, I would focus on a proactive approach to protecting our community from climate change, creating solutions to housing in the economy, providing a better future for Santa Barbara's youth, and creating a more diverse and inclusive city of Santa Barbara. We need a leader who is ready to hit the ground running on day one and find progressive solutions to the issues that have been affecting our city over the past 4 years. I'm sorry that I couldn't be with you in person today, but I had to work out of town, and the League of Women Voters was unable to accommodate. For those of you who pay rent, you understand. I hope you can join us for one of our 8 remaining debates. The easiest to access is likely to be the Santa Barbara Independent debate coming up on October 6th. I want to thank every one of you for your interest in this debate. Civic engagement is often overlooked and rarely acknowledged. If you'd like more information on the campaign, please go to www.joyceformayor.com. Thanks so much, and have a great night. Thank you to our candidates for their opening statements, and we will now begin with our questions. Since Kathy Murillo began the opening statements, we'll rotate to our next candidate for the first answer on the first question. So the question is, how do you view the role of the mayor of Santa Barbara? And Matt Kilrain will be the first to answer. Matt?
I would like to view the role as mayor as chief executive officer who sets the agenda and tries to get the city council to vote on the agenda that the mayor sets, for the city administrator to push through the agenda, to enforce it and to work it out, to make it happen. I believe that the mayor should be in charge and that the council will work with the mayor to make Santa Barbara a more compassionate and humanitarian type place.
Thank you. Randy Rouse, same question, please. 90 seconds.
All right, thank you. So the mayor of Santa Barbara, the mayor in general, is the only at-large elected seat in the entire council. They're a member of council, but they are the one that really has to answer to the entire community. But they need also to remember to remind their colleagues to answer to the entire community, not just their districts at all times. The need to lead and define direction on policy, agenda, and other issues that go before the council is extremely important, because without that direction, everybody's off in their own direction. The cats are out in the field, but they're not being herded. The mayor allows and empowers those council members to display their talents, display their intellect, and go forth and help create policy or have policy discussions. But at the end of the day, the mayor is the swing vote from a divided council and helps lead the meeting, not interject or what their own ideological things are, but to actually get the council to come together at the end and give a cogent set of directions so that the staff from the city administrator on down knows which way to go to develop and enact the policies as decided by council.
Thank you. Next up, Deborah Schwartz, same question, please.
Mayor is the most important position of the 7 electeds. The mayor not only sets the agenda, but must role model preparedness, skills and attitudes of cooperative facilitation on very complex issues. And through the differences of the 7 individuals, particularly the 6 council member colleagues, must be a good listener, a respectful facilitator in order to bring together common ground through differences. Voters are telling me we don't have that in our current city leadership, and I'm ready to bring that forward from my experience as chair of the Planning Commission, day 1. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mark Whitehurst, same question, please. How do you view the role of the mayor of Santa Barbara?
The role of the Santa Barbara mayor is to be, like Deborah described, in terms of being a facilitator. I feel very strongly that that's the key word. Facilitator to the council, to the administration, and also to the entire city. A mediator, and also an excellent listener. When it cannot be easy, I've never had the opportunity to legislate on TV with the entire city watching, but as issues are presented, it would make sense that the mayor take this key role of being listener, hearing all of the council first, and then through that deliberative process, encourage individual council members what is being said that is pertinent to come to a decisive, quick answer. And I believe that our mayor is an ambassador that celebrates Santa Barbara every day with everyone in every way. I thank you very much for the opportunity to share my thoughts.
Thank you. And the last one to answer this particular question will be Kathy Murillo. Kathy?
Thank you. I've been a strong and brave leader during really tough times. And that's important for the residents to see someone. I was sworn in the day of the debris flow, and we're just getting through the pandemic. So these have been very challenging times. And it's been an honor for me to answer people's emails, respond to their fears. It's been a very, the mayor has to run efficient meetings and be prepared and do her homework. And I was a journalist before this, so I certainly know how to come prepared to a meeting. And then when there's special problems like the pandemic economy, we formed the COVID-19 Business Advisory Task Force, which I chaired. And I sat down with business owners, business organizations, and one of the solutions we came up with was closing State Street to car traffic and making the promenade. I chair the SB Act Homelessness Collaborative Steering Committee. I chair the city's county affordable housing task group. And so that's what the mayor does. She steps forward, works collaboratively with her own council, but also other agencies, nonprofits, community groups, and solves problems. And my door is always open to my colleagues when they need my help. Thank you.
Thank you. Our second question is, what is the most important thing that needs to be done in the city of Santa Barbara? How do you propose to deal with it and pay for it? Our first candidate to answer will be Randy Rouse.
Thank you. So directly after the Thomas fire, I got to go with the city administrator and talked about a very deep cleaning because of the ash and the soot that was all over Santa Barbara, making the downtown dirty and grimy. Unfortunately, we were then interrupted by the debris flow. So that did not happen. That still needs to happen. We still need to clean deeply. We need to clean the side streets, and we need to light State Street. State Street should be lit like the holidays, 24 hours a day, 12 months out of the year, excuse me. But can fall under infrastructure and can be taken from Measure C to do so for a one-time cleaning. We have a budget for an ongoing cleaning, but that is imperative. We need to get downtown ready to be open for business. Landlords ask me time and time again what I can do to help them show their properties to prospective tenants. There are tenants out there, landlords are making deals, but we need to be ready to welcome them in. So cleaning and securing State Street and lighting State Street would be job one for me going forward as mayor.
Thank you. Deborah Schwartz, same question, please. 90 seconds.
Homelessness should have been declared a public health crisis, and it is connected to an economic crisis. There is no other more pressing issue, and I experience this both personally and as a policymaker. I have a family member homeless on the streets in Northern California. I know the need for compassion and the heartbreak for families. However, that's not enough for us to be effective. We have to bring proven programs and services to Santa Barbara, which I have researched from elsewhere. And our city leadership has been reactionary and too late to bringing the much needed state and federal funding to the crisis that is at our doorstep. As I mentioned in my opening statement, of the 8 cities in our county, our city has the highest number of homeless unsheltered on our streets. This is an expression of our values, of our priorities, and I think that it expresses imbalanced priorities, and that to me is the #1 most pressing issue that faces the next mayor and council.
Thank you. Mark Whitehurst, same question, please.
My first choice for the most important thing that the city needs to address is revitalization of the economy. Stimulating economic vitality is what revitalization is all about. And the city has about 1 million square feet of unused retail space. That space needs to be utilized, not just parked, waiting. To activate the space, it will take a strong and creative and thoughtful marketing plan. After 38 years in marketing and leading 3 successful startups, I know that a good marketing plan begins with asking the question, where is the energy? Right now, the energy in Santa Barbara is in the arts and the environment. We are an arts destination and also an environmental destination. Think green jobs, tech jobs, and artists. Both of these are economic engines that have the type of energy that can function as seeds with some attention and some intentional reinforcement. They are market forces that can be sustained and are enriched by visitors and by locals. It takes both. I really want to emphasize that whatever marketing plan is put together, it has to be locals and visitors working together to make these engines work. Starting with these seeds, Santa Barbara can use the energy and market itself as a sustainable, creative community.
Time.
A wonderful place,
Time.
a wonderful place to visit and spend money, and even more wonderfully to live and enjoy with friends and work and play.
Thank you. Kathy Murillo, same question, please.
Thank you. It's clear to me that homelessness and housing are the biggest challenges that we're facing right now, and they're interrelated, aren't they? The city has launched the Safe Shelter program when we had a fire that was started in a homeless camp. We made a priority to move people from those camps and into a motel. And yes, it does cost money. And we're using Measure C funds for that, connecting it to homelessness infrastructure. But the success that we've had tells me that we need to continue that exact work. The state government, the federal government has given us some relief monies that we're using for helping the homeless in this pandemic time. And funding for permanent housing, the bigger picture, that's a little more difficult to identify sources, except that our wonderful governor, and I'm so glad we didn't recall him, signed some bills recently, $10 billion for affordable housing, $12 billion for housing for our unsheltered residents. So that's a good start. We need a long-term replacement for the redevelopment revenue stream so that we can have our city housing authority continue to build low-income housing. Thank you.
Thank you. Matt Kilrain, last one to answer this question, please.
Okay. First of all, Mayor Murillo, you're the most blessed. Big time. The stuff that you had to deal with during your administration was just an insane amount of stuff for anybody to handle. And you are the most blessed out of any person in Santa Barbara right now. But in all honesty, the crap's about to hit the fan any second. And I'm sorry, Mayor Murillo, but it's just too big for you to handle. And we all need to have at least a month's worth of rations ready to go immediately, starting today. If you don't have a month's worth of rations, make sure you got it. I don't know when the crap's gonna hit the fan before this election, maybe after the election. But I can tell you, and they're very grateful for what you've done, Mayor Murillo, and so am I. And you've given a lot, but the next mayor's gonna have to give blood. If you guys ain't willing to give blood, then you ain't ready for the job. Get prepared for emergencies and make sure your kids. By the way, I brought up the needles last night And my daughter sees them around town. I got a 13-year-old daughter running around town with a bunch of other kids, and they're seeing needles on the street. Randy's right. We need to clean up the streets. Prepare for emergencies.
Time.
It's about to happen.
Time. Thank you. We're going on to the next question now, and it is this. Do you believe that diversity, equity, and inclusion are important for the city? And if so, how should the city promote these values? And we'll begin with Deborah Schwartz.
I absolutely believe those are critical values, but values have to be carried out through actions. And I believe it's time for our mayor and council to direct the Human Resources Department director to conduct an audit in 3 areas. First, our hiring practices. Second, employee performance processes. And lastly, pay structures. I don't want to assume because my facts forward style, facts, F-A-C-T-S. And that means that I'm not going to make assumptions about disparities or gaps in the area of equity. I want real data. And I think that it's time we ask our human resources director to gather that so that mayor and council together can look at the hard evidence as to whether or not we have disparities in our institutional system and then decide what the path forward is to remedy those.
Thank you. We're having a bit of an issue with our countdown clock. It seems to be fixed, okay? Then we'll move on. Mark Whitehurst, you are the next to answer that question, please.
I think the promenade is a perfect opportunity to go to work on these 3 issues. It's like when we look at our downtown and whether it's welcoming or not, it brings up the question of diversity and how is it that we embrace other cultures on the street with our merchants, with our city workers, police, fire, everyone that they meet. In terms of equity, I would have to lean back and say that starts at City Hall, that we need to do an evaluation and we need to have a strategy for approaching that question because of what it raises in terms of systemic racism and all of those issues that are on the table there. In terms of inclusivity, I'll go back to the promenade. Being inclusive means access for a lot of people. Inclusivity means intergenerational to me. It means that downtown, when people come to visit, there's something for their children to do. There's something for people who are challenged or handicapped or have the inability to engage in the forceful activities that take place on that street.
Time.
Thank you very much.
Kathy Murillo, same question, please.
Thank you. I'm proud of our city government, its hiring and training practices, the culture that we maintain to prevent discrimination and to celebrate and uplift diversity in our workforce, in our policies. The focus for me going into the second term would be a pursuit of more language justice in terms of making more documents and other outreach materials available in Spanish. City does a good job of that. It has been doing a good job, but we can take it to the next level. We're on the verge of hiring a bilingual public information officer so that we can make sure that all of our Latino community members are connected to their city government. But that also is a job of the mayor as well. When the pandemic allows, I so look forward to being back in the community. Under Chief Luno, a woman, I'm really proud to have a feed. She hired female officers. We had 18% of female officers, which was off the charts nationwide. We're also developing a civilian oversight for our police department to make sure that racism and, in fact, violent racism and excessive use of force does not happen in our so that's something that we're pursuing now. So there's all manner of ways that we can promote that. Thank you.
Thank you. Matt Kilrain, same question, please.
Okay, I believe we're talking about equity, and when I refer to equity, I mean it as in the children owning the business of Santa Barbara. Now, the business of Santa Barbara is a multi-billion-dollar asset in which the employees of Santa Barbara get to keep all the money for themselves in the form of big paychecks and big pensions, and the citizens get diddly squat minus tax. So as far as equity goes, if you're a kid born in Santa Barbara, you're going to own the business of Santa Barbara for the rest of your life, no matter where you live. And as I've said many times, that especially means if you're a Chumash kid, which is kind of the racist stuff you guys are talking about. I think with the term equity, you use some kind of wordsmith, and I swear to me, the word equity means how much of something you own, and we're talking about the kids owning and the citizens owning the business of Santa Barbara. And I think you guys are talking about equity and what color you are having a job. And so if you're Chumash, which I'm not sure what color you are, if you're Chumash, or if you're white, or like my kid's not even half white, but she's born in Santa Barbara, she will own the business of Santa Barbara her entire life, and you won't be able to sell it or transfer it. Now, as far as the 805ers who speak better English than me, we got to put everything up in Spanish for them to read. And I love the way they talk with their accent, like when they're signing my petition. Oh, he can't sign it because he's not Spanish.
Time.
I love the 805ers.
Thank you. Randy Rouse, same question, please. 90 seconds.
Tough act to follow there. Thank you. Yeah, so every organization, every community, and every organism, frankly, is better off when the more diverse it is. That makes it stronger. That makes it just and equitable. I will agree with the mayor. I mean, we have in our organization currently a lot of diversity, especially in the police department. The PD is actually more diverse in terms of race and gender distribution than our community really is. So, and many of our top executives, most of our top executives in the city are women. So I don't think a human inventory is necessarily where we need to go. I think what we need is the opportunity and recruitment, and we need to make clear, especially to our local residents, that these opportunities are here within our organization. We should try to recruit and retain our local residents. And I think that's the kind of diversity that's needed to really keep us going as a community and to have people invested here as Santa Barbans.
Thank you. Our next question is, how do you propose to ensure that Santa Barbara is a sustainable community in the future? And for this, we will begin with Mark Whitehurst.
I'm going to go back to what I was saying about economic engines. It's my belief that Santa Barbara has all the components necessary to be an environmental destination to a much larger degree. When you take a look at the Channel Islands, the marine reserves, the wilderness reserves, when you add up all of those things that people would want to come for those reasons, that connects to sustainability. Not only do we need to sustain those important heritage sites, but the visitors that come need to engage in that process as well. The whole idea behind an ecological destination is that you preserve, and that is a shared cost. What goes along with that is education. While we have those institutions in place, there needs to be a conversion to when people come here, they are connected with the environment in a multitude of ways. And this, to me, is the way to sustain both our environment and our small community. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy Murillo, same question, please, 90 seconds.
Our city has launched a sustainability and resilience department. It's new. And the focus is on energy, solid waste, environmental issues. We have a strong creeks division, which is funded through a bed tax increment. They're doing great work acquiring properties, creating open space. But I'm really excited about our community choice energy program, by which the city becomes an electricity provider. And we tell Edison that we want as much green energy, carbon-free electricity to come into our city. So when you asked what's the biggest problem, I said homelessness and housing. Second to that would be climate disruption. And we can connect the dots here with wildfire, drought, flood when it rains, it's always extreme, and sea level rise. And we have a sea level rise plan. So you're in good hands with this mayor. Looking forward to creating microgrids using solar power. The city has reduced its use of power. Our fleet is using renewable fuels. We recently adopted a prohibition that new construction cannot have natural gas hookups. We're forward thinking and really looking out for the young people in this community. They will feel the brunt of climate disruption, and I'll be working to make sure that the city does the right thing and that we encourage our residents to think about resiliency into the future.
Thank you. Matt Kilrain, same question, please, 90 seconds.
As I said before, our primary focus needs to be emergency preparedness. We need to seriously get prepared for the crap to hit the fan. I'm talking the microbursts, the Thomas fire, the mudslide, Conception, all of that on steroids for the next 6 months. We need to get through this winter at all costs. We need to forget about making money. We need to forget about bringing in a bunch of tourists to witness what's about to go down. And us locals, we need to go where we go one, we go all, we need to quit selling each other out. We need to stick together and pull through this winter at any cost. And then after we make it through this winter, when spring comes around, we'll start to get into the golden age, and live on the high vibe, and everything's going to be great then. But we seriously need to get through this winter. Last winter, they were saying, oh, last winter is going to be the long, dark winter. No, last winter was the nice, cushy winter. This is going to be the long, dark winter. And if you check into stuff like jubilees, it's an ancient way of doing business, which is what you guys are talking about. Every 50 years, you have a jubilee. It's a 2-year jubilee that actually starts in the 49th year. And we're in a year and a half into the 50-year jubilee. So we've only got less than 6 months to make it through the jubilee, and then we all get a brand new start.
Time. Thank you. Randy Rouse, same question, please, 90 seconds.
Thank you. So when I was on council, I chaired the Sustainability Committee, the Tahigas Materials Recovery Committee, which was about the Tahigas project and recycling. And I got treated to some of the staff we have and some of the very, very talented people we have that help us to do things like install solar panels in buildings, do new light fixtures that are energy. What we are, which is an environmental community. But what's really important is we have reliability and sustainability on this side of the mountain, because reliability is challenged pretty much every fire season. And just not only do we have the ability to produce the energy here, but we have the ability to have microgrids and work with Edison, not against Edison, when it comes to making that reliability happen. So I think going forward, we have the tools in place, but we have to be cautious about and what it is that we can't become monochromatic when it comes to procuring our energy. We need to be diverse. We need to look at all the options, and it's important that we just don't, throw the water out without checking for babies first.
Thank you. Deborah Schwartz, same question, please. 90 seconds.
I created and announced yesterday my Santa Barbara Safe Plan because for our city to be future requires more strategic, modernized planning, planning around access in and out of our city through a very constrained Highway 101, more flexible policies and planning tools than the archaic traditional ones. And for us to address these environmental vulnerabilities, fire, earthquake, and sea level rise, all of this requires integrated strategic planning, both short-term and long-term, that's been missing under current city leadership. That's what I intend to make as part of my set of priorities once the new mayor and council are seated.
Thank you. Our next question. What is your vision for State Street in the near term and in the foreseeable future? And for this, we will begin with Kathy Murillo.
Thank you. I envision State Street to be bustling with commerce, good paying jobs, good revenue sources for the city, entertainment, concerts, when pandemic allows, dance floors so people my age can go out and dance on the weekends. I do the club sometimes, but that's a little much for some people. I envision our library doing story times out there with little kids. And I do envision State Street remaining car-free. In the bigger picture, we really need to help the commercial property owners. So part of my plan in my second term is to help establish a stormwater assessment district, which is probably going to be part of the downtown organization's new property-based business improvement district. So that is stormwater. We have new rules about capturing the water before it runs into the creek and pollutes the ocean, but the business owners need help with that. So if the city administers a program, we all need to do it together. So I am looking out for our businesses and the commercial property owners. They're really under stress because of the change in retail spending. I have a lot of faith in our new State Street Advisory Committee. I have faith in the leadership at downtown organization. The chamber has new energy.
Time.
Good things are happening. Thank you.
Thank you. Matt Kilrain, same question, please. 90 seconds.
My primary concern is that Santa Barbara has been targeted to be one of the 19 smart cities in California. Now, just for the record, I oppose smart cities. I oppose 5G and I oppose LED lighting. And that's top priority to make sure that stuff does not happen on State Street. I know it's scheduled to happen, and because of me, we got a delay on it when I started up. Something I'm not going to mention, but you guys got word to delay the installation of 5G that's been forced upon us against my will. I don't know how good you guys like 5 billion hertz of microwaves cranking through your brain per second, but I don't want it going up and down State Street. And I got a kid to protect, and I'll do everything to make sure that State Street does not have 5G and LED lighting going up and down it. Now I see a more traditional town with the dim lights and the romance. I wouldn't mind buggies around the way we used to have it until the guy got busted for DUI driving a horse. I mean, what's Santa Barbara coming to? I mean, let's bring back some tradition. What about the horses going up and down State Street? And by the way, when I'm mayor of Santa Barbara, I'm gonna want to see my horse out there grazing at City Hall. How you guys gonna like that?
Thank you. Randy Rouse, same question, please.
Okay, thank you. So I'll go back to my clean and lighted thing. And that part of it is, I was talking to the cops on the street today, and they, if we were really, really clean and really, really light, we would probably have a number of our enforcement issues go away organically. And that would be a nice place to start. And after that, I would work with the merchants and probably the AIA to create some templates for parklets that were uniformly sized, that were acceptable design-wise, so they could be taken over the counter for a very nominal fee. On top of that, I would put a system of bollards along State Street. So instead of the flower pots, they were retractable bollards that will allow for morning deliveries to retail stores that don't have another frontage. Safety, which is now compromised getting up and down State Street, and would allow for parades again. And after that, I would have a bike lane, and I would have enough space to run an electric shuttle for linear transport up and down the street. And that way we could remain closed as a large promenade, but actually have the people walking on the sidewalks, the bikes on the street where they belong, and the ability to transport linearly up and down the street with an electric shuttle. So you have no noise, no pollution, and grandma can go from Joe's Cafe at happy hour on up to the Granada and watch the show. And I think that is the kind of Santa Barbara I see.
Thank you. Deborah Schwartz, same question, please. 90 seconds.
Kathy mentioned the State Street Advisory Committee, which will be spending the next 2 or 3 years discussing and possibly bringing forward some ideas, but we don't have 2 to 3 years to take some decisive, bold actions, both in terms of partnerships with our community members who have an interest in investing and participating in downtown revitalization. We also don't have 2 to 3 years to implement important consultant recommendations to change our policies in the planning arena to and facilitate permits for those business owners and property owners downtown who are eager to revitalize their spaces, eager to get new tenants into smaller spaces. There's been a lot of talk and not enough action in terms of streamlining and working with business owners. The cutting edge cities that I've researched that have invested in, have been successful in revitalizing their downtowns, know that the winning model is mixed use, that is both commercial and residential. And while the council voted to change a policy to attempt to encourage more downtown housing, we still have obstructionist processes inside our planning department, and we're not seeing enough housing applications come forward.
Time.
We need to move that. Thank you.
Time. Thank you. And last on this question will be Mark Whitehurst. Same question, 90 seconds.
In the near term, vibrancy, I think, is the most important thing for the downtown. It's been mentioned, the side streets are not clean. The main street isn't clean under the new this new development of the promenade. The tree wells, there's about 1,000 tree wells downtown Santa Barbara that are empty. That means they're trip hazards. They don't have any sort of landscaping or gravel or anything. And so I think that's an important first start. Second to that, I think in terms of clean and safe, that the downtown State Street needs substations. These substations would be a place where you would have caseworkers, where you would have ambassadors, where you would have police, first responders that were there as well. And what that would do, it would create vibrancy in itself. Being able to see more people on the street that are official, that are helping, what would you say, the whole process of enjoying State Street. I don't think that concept would just have to be State Street. It could be citywide as well. And then moving forward, looking at the long term, we need to lean back on the expertise that's in this city. Besides the advisory committee, we have architects that are brilliant. We need to allow them to have input, not just have engineers from the Department of Public Works
Time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next question is this. What is the best way to provide housing for all segments of the community? What is the city's role, particularly in light of State Senate Bills 9 and 10? And for this, we will begin with Matt Kilrain.
Okay, well, as you guys probably know, I'm like the biggest criminal on the planet for turning more homeless people into homeowners than anybody in the history of Santa Barbara. You know, in Santa Barbara, people live in creative ways, like on a boat. Now, when I came to Santa Barbara, I had a kid and a dog and less than $100. And when you're in a situation like that, it's pretty hard to find a home, especially if you don't have some cushy job. So I wound up, that boat led me into all kinds of opportunities, and people kind of appreciated what I had going on. And next thing you know, people were giving me hundreds of boats. Now I knew, I guess God told me when I first came to Santa Barbara, was just to go stand underneath the pier with my hands out like this, and everything I needed would fall through the cracks and land in my hands. And I was told not to be very greedy because so much stuff was going to land in my hands that it would weigh me down if I tried to hang on to it. So I knew to share all of these boats with the basic population. And so I was able to sell hundreds of people their homes for like $1,000 and finance it to them and that kind of stuff. This was very helpful to poor people, and poor people live in other creative ways, but they're treated like criminals for doing it. When I sell a boat to somebody, first of all, I'm a criminal for selling it to that person.
Time. Thank you. Randy Rouse, same question, please. 90 seconds.
Thank you. So, you know, we have a fabulous housing authority. People hear me tout them all the time, but they do amazing work, and their inventory looks a lot like leafing through Architectural Digest. But the process is onerous. The process of going through our planning and building department needs to be reformed, and I think that's something that's not a big secret for anyone. And I believe that would be one of the priorities to do this. But we created the AUD to take the place of the FAR, and then we tap the brakes every time we sit there and we say, okay, now here's the new restriction. And pretty soon the private sector moves away from creating the housing. So there has to be a balance. But we do have lots of housing projects online right now in the pipeline. We have the Carrillo commuter lot, the one on Haley Street, developed on Milpa Street, the one being developed in the Staples Center. The Sears project can be a huge amount of housing for us, but it's really, really important that we help facilitate those projects, find out what exactly it is that they need us to do, and then either get out of the way or help. Senate Bill 9 and 10 are, I think, are a disaster in the wings. I think they're going to affect the lower and middle income neighborhoods first and gentrify those neighborhoods. And they're going to exacerbate, not help, the affordability and housing problem in California. So I would move to resist those at every turn.
Thank you. Deborah Schwartz, same question, please. 90 seconds.
Well, for over 40 years, our city did not encourage or assist in producing new rental housing. And as a renter myself, I know what it's like to pay much more than the average percentage of income towards our housing in our beautiful city. It's a balance between changing policies to genuinely encourage housing investors to come forward, mostly from the private sector. Over 90% of the rental housing units in our city have been constructed by the private sector, not the nonprofit housing development sector. But private partnerships, we can actually achieve the greatest, which is those who have the financial means to acquire properties and make those investments could partner with the housing authority, which is able to secure government subsidies to provide income rent restricted to another income level and therefore increase affordability. Now, at the Sacramento level, we will never have influence if we don't have ongoing communication, which means relationships. I recently spoke with some of the most active senators and assembly members who have co-authored some of these more controversial bills. They have very clearly said to me, we will put on the brakes, we will pull back if you and other cities can genuinely demonstrate a commitment. Thank you.
Mark Whitehurst, the same question, please. 90 seconds.
Housing raises a question, a big question. What is it that we want and what is it that we need? And balancing that in Santa Barbara is not easy when it's so market driven by the price of housing and rentals. We need, I believe, a dedicated number of our homes for workforce housing. And the only way that can take place is if we decide how large our city is going to be, which is an important question. And also, how will we regulate that? Market forces on building of new homes or apartments. I think that we have a number of agencies that address housing. I think there's 19, something like that. And that the best of them is the Housing Authority because they offer protections for renters. And as we grow into this building of more homes, creatively, like Deborah said, more multi-use, I think it will be important that we also protect those people, those individuals that cannot afford market rate. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy Murillo, same question, please. 90 seconds.
Housing is a human right, and that has always been a motto of my public service. But I'll take this opportunity to add to the State Street and downtown question that we need housing downtown. And our city staff are working on a pathway for that, putting together a set of policies. They're also working on the floor area ratio. Someone mentioned the FAR. So that's a formula of how you put the units together, but it would be a focus on denser units. And in another forum, I said micro units would definitely work for some kinds of people that don't have children or pets, and that would live that lifestyle because they get to live in downtown Santa Barbara. Related to SB 9 and 10, I think that our city attorney would be able to limit some of the SB 9 impact in the high fire zones and also near historic resources. So there might be some relief there. I do understand why these bills are coming forward, why the governor is signing them, is because we do need housing. I've talked before about the impact that housing insecurity has on our families and on our children, to protect the affordable housing that we have now. Just this week, our city council passed an ordinance to help people who live in mobile home parks.
Time.
And a lot of them are senior citizens. Thank you.
Time. Thank you. Our next question: how can the city best prepare for the increasing fires, floods, and droughts? This question, we will begin with Randy Rouse.
Thank you. Well, as you know, that I've been endorsed by both the police and the fire, and public safety is a huge part of that because we do have people who live in the urban wildland interface, and those people are also very conscious. They all have their get out bags and whatnot. So we have a cooperative way, and one of the problems with SB 9 and 10 is if you're not designated a high fire zone and you can build those things up there, then we will have an evacuation problem. So public safety is a big part of all that. Another big part of what we do is just our own sustainability movements going forward to create the idea that we can make our power through solar, that we can help to mitigate those problems that are coming forward. We have to clear wildland brush. We have to ensure that our water supplies are constant and available to fight fires. There are a lot of things that are needed to be prepared for, but going forward, it is a problem, and it's going to take constant vigilance to monitor that and be prepared for that at all times.
Thank you. Deborah Schwartz, you're next. Same question, please. 90 seconds.
So, Randy mentioned vigilance, but I think vigilance alone is not sufficient, which is why I created the Santa Barbara Safe Plan. There has to be a strategic, integrated approach to all of this. Our constrained access in and out of 101 makes us very vulnerable. Most of our first responders do not live in the city, and that is police, fire, teachers, healthcare workers. But in order to adjust our approach, we also need modernized tools, modernized policies, including modernized integrated planning. And all of this touches on, as you've said, our environmental vulnerabilities, which in the last 10 years, we have borne the brunt of. So when there's been a reaction to, or reactive measures taken, the Loma fire, et cetera, it just highlights the lack of strategic integrated planning, and that would definitely be part of one of my priorities early on.
Thank you. Mark Whitehurst, same question, please. 90 seconds.
Strategic plans are very important for just about everything. The airport has a strategic plan in place, and so does the harbor. And we're working on one now with Rouse. So why isn't there a strategic plan that we all understand and know about in consideration for the disasters that have happened in our city? I think that we have a headquarters for that, and that a number of people have responses that they're supposed to do when we have an emergency, like a fire. But the community needs to have that communicated. I think Deborah said that quite well, and I agree with that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Kathy Murillo, same question, please. 90 seconds.
Thanks. So we have adopted a community wildfire prevention plan. We have a program to clear vegetation and to help homeowners make their properties safer. I like that our city is addressing the causes of climate change, which has made the wildfires more intense and drought. Certainly our first responders need support. Next week on the council agenda, we're looking at coordinated dispatch. So this is where the county and the city fire, Montecito fire, Summerlin fire, Carp fire, they all work together so that when you dial 911, you get response from the closest responsive unit. So it'll be more efficient, and in the end, it'll save us money. So looking forward to creating that safer system. We also need to do more outreach to our Spanish-speaking community. After the debris flow in the Thomas fire, we hired a bilingual outreach specialist. She's done emergency preparedness, disaster preparedness, how to be safe during a disaster, how to get information during a disaster. She goes on the Spanish language radio and connects with a very vulnerable population. And so these are all activities that have been carried out under my leadership. I ask for your vote. Thank you.
And last to answer this question will be Matt Kilrain. 90 seconds, please.
Well, so far this entire show I've been talking about emergency preparedness. I don't think I've talked about anything else but emergency preparedness. And if I'm not mistaken, I started out discussing this natural disaster PTSD that most of the citizens have when Josh Molina introduced me and kind of made fun of me for talking about it. Now here we're still talking about it. Now when the Thomas fire was coming to town, I was accused of fear mongering for warning the people that the fire was coming to town. When the smoke came to town, I got my kid the heck out of town Well, a bunch of idiots stayed in town breathing up all that smoke thinking their mask is helping them out. Oh, I gotta make money. I'm gonna stay here and breathe up all the smoke. Look, folks, let's face reality. It ain't good to breathe up the smoke. It's not good to be bringing these fires and mudslides to Santa Barbara. It's not good for conception to get blown up out there. And when you talk about man-made climate change, yeah, it's man-made, but it ain't us peasants driving around in our cars causing the climate change. It's them big boys up there with their satellites and their 5G and their direct energy weapons and their neutron beams and all this other stuff. I mean, they're causing Hurricane Ida. They're causing the earthquakes in China. And watch the Three Gorges Dam blow up, because when that happens, it's over for China. And we need to have our act together here in Santa Barbara.
Time.
Make sure you got the rations.
Time. We're ready for our next question. What is your vision for a long-term solution to homelessness, including homeless encampments, transitional and long-term housing, and social services? And for this question, we will begin with Deborah Schwartz. Deborah, 90 seconds, please.
In a recent meeting that I had with Interim Police Chief Barney Malekian and 2 lieutenants, I specifically and only wanted to talk about homelessness because it is such a pressing issue, and I know that so many of our police department resources are being dispatched to the homeless on our streets. Beyond housing, the number 1 and 2 issues were mental health, untreated mental health conditions, and addiction issues. We have to are the most vulnerable population on our streets of harm to themselves and harm to others. Mental health services are required by California law to be provided by counties. So here again, regional relationships and regional cooperation is key. And our county is not yet providing the resources we need to properly address mental health among our homeless. So until we effectively utilize the resources that the state and federal government has available and bring those to Santa Barbara for that, we will not be able to encourage or convince those who are on the street and capable of living in congregate housing environments to come off the street and live in close quarters among others. There are many models throughout other cities that I would choose to bring to Santa Barbara to do this.
Time. Thank you. Next to answer will be Mark Whitehurst. Same question, please. 90 seconds.
Homelessness should be approached multi-level and with compassion. And I also had the opportunity to speak with the chief of police, and the words he used was, we need a mental health care system. And I think what that suggests is that we need long-term mental health care, not 24 hours, not 48 hours, but something much longer than that. That will require a partnership with more than likely the state and the county, perhaps the federal government. But when you take a look at our business districts, what you see is about 40 or 50 people camped out there that do not represent the entire 900 to 1,000 people that are in transition. And so I would say that 40 or 50 individuals, they are most in need of healthcare. And that's a bed today is what is needed. And as I would say, that would be my first priority as a mayor, would be mental health care beds. The problem that we have many things in the works right now for transitional housing, tiny homes. The city and the county both are working on projects. And I think we can't get enough beds for the individuals that really could transition from their car into a tiny home and then permanent housing.
Time. Thank you. Next to answer, Kathy Murillo. Same question.
First and foremost, we need to have the courage to build housing for our unsheltered residents. So there's emergency shelter, which is a shelter bed, bridge housing, where they are temporarily before we can move them into permanent housing with supportive services. These are folks that have challenges and they need support to be able to get back into a lifestyle where they have an income, where they have utilities. So it's a complex issue of how to help that individual depending on what their problem is. The SB Act Homelessness Collaborative is what we do in the city of Santa Barbara that looks within our city limits. They have a strategic plan. Part of it is advocating for affordable housing, advocating for more case management, making sure that we have homelessness prevention. We don't want anybody to get into homelessness. So if you can give someone some rent or some other help to keep them in a house, that's a good thing. Totally support safe parking. It's not ideal, but at least they're off the street. And the safe parking program actually houses 50 to 55 people a year. So very, very successful program. I used to volunteer at Casa Esperanza. It's now called PATH. And it was just a privilege to work with people who serve the homeless.
Time.
They're good people. Thank you.
Thank you. Matt Kilrain, next to answer this question, please. 90 seconds. Matt?
Okay.
Okay.
I got to unmute myself. First of all, I promise the citizens of Santa Barbara that I will be a complete pain up the social workers' ass who keeps sending all these homeless people from elsewhere in the state to live in Santa Barbara. We do not need to be inviting other people's problems to Santa Barbara. So let's stop bringing in a bunch of new drug addicts and a bunch of new people with mental health problems. If they're in Sacramento somewhere today, let's leave them there. Now, for the people that are here in Santa Barbara today on September 30th and backwards, I have a plan. Okay, but I don't have a plan for the criminals that Gavin Newsom's about to let out of jail next week. But for the ones that are here today, I have a plan. Now, we can shelter good ones. The bad ones that everybody's complaining about, like the ones that are sleeping up and down State Street and stealing parts off my bikes and leaving needles laying around, what I'm going to do with them, I'm going to buy a school bus and I'm going to form a coalition of fathers, probably fathers off the football team. And we're going to go around and invite some of them people that we do not want in Santa Barbara. We're going to invite them on that school bus. And I'm going to pay that school bus, and that'll be out of my own money. And I'm going to tell them fathers to drive them that school bus
Time.
either to Las Vegas or Phoenix.
Time.
And explain why they don't come back.
Time. Last to answer this question will be Randy Rouse. 90 seconds, please.
So when the Loma fire happened and council was quoted as saying what a wake-up call that was after there'd already been 18 fires in 23 days. We've had encampments, they've had fires up and down 101 along our freeways. We just lost Donovan Electric to a fire that started in the same manner. And then they go, okay, what do we do with them? And as opposed to opening the winter shelter, which they had the authority to do, they pulled $1.6 million of unscheduled money for a 4-month solution. And it's not a solution, it's a Band-Aid. It's not even a tourniquet to stop the bleeding. So on last Friday, I was up in Las Canoas with Richard Birdie as he was looking, and with me was Gordon Alkencloss, who's a retired deputy DA, who is formulating these different plans for bridge housing, services, and a comprehensive sites where we can actually do these kind of things. It's an amazing opportunity. I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know where the funding is going to come from, but it's a bold move and it's something different. We can't keep pumping money into the same failed programs. What was it that Einstein said, that doing something over again and expecting different results is the definition of insanity, or maybe that was his hairdresser. I don't know, but whatever it is, we cannot continue to move in this direction. We need firm, basic solutions that involve getting people off the street and into bridge housing.
Thank you. Our next question. What would you propose to make Santa Barbara an even safer city? And for this, we will begin with Mark Whitehurst. 90 seconds, please.
As I mentioned before, I believe that substations, where they're necessary, and that could be any neighborhood or any business district, would be an opportunity to provide care, immediate care, and also advice and case workers for the individuals that need mental health care. And I really believe that that is one of the answers that we could do in terms of vibrancy and safety. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy Murillo, next. Same question.
Thank you so much. People do live in Santa Barbara for the low crime rate, and we need to keep it that way. We need to address and other things that initiate crime. We need to help our children do better in school. But I would say that law enforcement at this time in history is in a transitional phase, rightly, after the murder of George Floyd last year. Just today, Governor Newsom signed a whole bunch of bills to initiate police reform. One of them, I think, was an officer has to be 21 years old, not 18. And if someone has exhibited violence based in racism or some other excessive use of force, then they cannot go and be an officer somewhere else. So that seems a good loophole to close. It was an interesting article. The governor has incredible courage, just like we do at the city of Santa Barbara, exploring how we will put together a civilian oversight system. Our police officers union has said they don't have anything to hide. They welcome these kinds of changes. And so far, the department already has programs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next to answer will be Matt Kilrain. Same question.
I assume everybody knows the first cornerstone to my 4 cornerstone agenda is to make Santa Barbara a safer place for kids to grow up. And now Deborah has her own plan, which is a public safety initiative. And so we all finally, now the voters don't care that much about public safety and the safety of children. I can assure you, as far as the voters are concerned, my child safety initiative is the least popular of my 4 cornerstones. Most people care about making money. They don't care about, our kids coming across needles and rubbers and this and that on the streets, masks, all this freaking litter from the big pharma stuffing their needles, their masks, their condoms onto the homeless people and onto our children, and they wind up on and then my 13-year-old has to ride her bike around looking at condoms and needles and freaking masks everywhere. Now, I suggest a children's only bathroom in the harbor. This year in 2021, my daughter was only 12 and she had to learn how to put up with a man wearing a dress in the girls' bathroom, trying to pick up on her before school. And when I had something to say about it, they suggested that I cease and desist or move my boat to another harbor. This year in 2021, my daughter went to McDonald's on the east side and some adult told her she was on the wrong side of town and to go back to the west side. This year in 2021, an adult in a harbor.
Time. Thank you. Next to answer will be Randy Rouse. Same question, please. 90 seconds.
Thank you. It upsets me to think about things like Prop 47 and the increased property crime and the fact that our officers are down to 108 personnel functional right now. And that the first answer is going to be, we need to reform the police. When the George Floyd murder happened and we had some activity here in town, our mayor and council did nothing to back up our police department. They said nothing that was in support of the programs that our chief had put into place that actually checked off most of the items requested by Healing Justice. We have fabulous restorative and community police officers on the street, and I name they don't get acknowledged. When I was on council, I started the ambassador program, and it was a utilization of non-sworn personnel to assist the officers to expand their eyes and ears and to deal with people. I just saw a couple performing yesterday that I told Rebecca Bjork about, because they went to some folks on the street. They very politely and very professionally asked them to stop their activity and pick their stuff up. And it was very, very effective. And I go, that's the kind of thing that we need. We need that uniform presence in the downtown, but we need to rebolster our PD. And the idea that we're going to reform them based on something that happened 1,500 miles away is really unfair to the people we have in our uniforms here in Santa Barbara. Thank you.
Thank you. The last to answer this question will be Deborah Schwartz. 90 seconds, please.
Community members from throughout the 6 districts have told me that they don't want to primarily or exclusively rely on our police force for safety in their neighborhoods. Specifically recently, extensive family and neighbors met with me to tell me about their concerns in the parks. This is a family-rich area. Families abound, extended families, and the parks need to be safe havens for the families and children. The East Side Neighborhood Park has long been known, for example, to have gambling and drinking and drug activity. That is not solvable through the police department. It requires a greater partnership with city leadership. And while some inroads are being made, some of these community members tell me they feel ignored, they feel left behind, and they're looking for a place in City Hall to be heard and respected. So I think we need to do more there, and that would be part of my community engagement plan.
Thank you. Our next question. What do you propose to improve local commerce and the local economy? And for this, we'll begin with Kathy Murillo. 90 seconds, please.
Madam Moderator, did you say commerce and business?
What do you propose to improve local commerce and the local economy?
Okay, very good. I'm really supportive of the economic development plan that was produced by our new stellar economic development manager, reviewed by many city departments, many business community members, business organizations, and the city council. And it has 3 tenets, and that is to support businesses and business districts citywide. The first 3 years will focus on downtown. And the other one was to make the city a more business-friendly city. And we've talked about that already in this forum, about planning department and building department processes that need to be made easier so that people can open businesses. We're finally at this place where we're accepting the fact that that retail has changed, and our uses of our commercial spaces need to respond to that. And really excited about all the tenets in that plan and all the hard work that's going into it by all of our business community. Thank you.
Thank you. Matt Kilrain, same question, 90 seconds.
Third and fourth cornerstones to my 4 cornerstone agenda have a lot to do with bringing business to Santa Barbara. The third cornerstone is to make Santa Barbara the green power capital of the world, in which I will give the citizens of Santa Barbara more than $1 billion of green technology that nobody on these shows ever calls me out on. What is this $1 billion worth of green technology you keep talking about? Well, you guys have heard about Trump's trillion trees, which was actually the biggest business deal of all time ever talked that I wrote. Who do you know that ever wrote a trillion tree deal? I mean, a tree, that's $1 trillion. Now the trees grow, okay? And then they reproduce. So it's actually a multi-trillion tree deal, a multi-trillion dollar deal. And now I'm just talking about giving the citizens billions of dollars. Now I figured out how to use the ocean to clean the air. I figured out how to turn smog into fertilizer. I know how to use that desalinization plant to clean the air. I'm willing to give the technology to the citizens of Santa Barbara for free, but not to the city workers. You understand that? To the citizens, the people that were born in Santa Barbara. I'll give you that technology, but I'm not giving it to the city workers like the administrator and the accountant and the attorney that wants to say that my daughter's got to learn how to put up.
Thank you. Randy Rouse, same question, please, 90 seconds.
So in my time in the downtown, which was a long time, I sat on the boards of downtown Santa Barbara. I sat on the board of Hospitality Santa Barbara, the Conference Visitor Bureau. Also on the board of the Chamber, and the Chamber is who have endorsed me for this race. The key is to enable and to encourage private sector investment. And that's going to go back to my clean and secure and light plan. Refill those storefronts. We need to make it inviting. We need to make it inviting 24 hours a day. We need to make it inviting 365 days out of the year. Right now, it's not. It falls short of that. And yes, there's been some economic changes, but landlords are telling me that they have tenants that are in the wings ready to go. They just need to see what the city's going to do for them. The permit process, of course, has been mentioned a number of times. That needs reform, especially for interior tenant improvements. I think that is one of the big tenets to getting this going again and getting our commerce back. I was in commerce for almost 40 years in the downtown. I've got a bit of a feel for what it takes. But as we go forward and we make restrictions on business, we charge them more assessments. We're talking about a bigger local minimum wage. I'm thinking, you've got your foot on the neck of business already. When are you going to let up? And that's what I intend to do.
Thank you. Deborah Schwartz, same question, please, 90 seconds.
Certainly listening to Matt stimulates some new interesting ideas for me. But this evening I would like to talk about our first ever economic development plan that Kathy referenced. We were quite critical in the Planning Commission of the first draft because a number of us, including myself, felt that it was not a whole city plan. Downtown is critical, make no mistake about it, but unless we can address and integrate all of our economic centers, Milpas, the Mesa, Upper State Street, plus downtown to a whole city strategy, we're going to fail our city. And small businesses are the lifeblood of our city. Having a business background myself, I understand the importance and the economic that small businesses provide. So I think that true partnerships, which are missing, respectful outreach, which is missing, using the talent, the innovations of our business community to help incubate ideas is also missing. All of this turns on a new city leadership, one of true respect for and appreciation of the importance economic underpinning of the business sector in our city. And that's what I would look to bring.
Thank you. Last to answer this question, Mark Whitehurst, 90 seconds, please. Question.
I believe this is about home and visitors. That when you look at our past and the downtown study that was done on retail, what was discovered in that study was that we had merchants, some of them had gone out of business, that did not market to the locals. And they just waited on State Street for visitors to come. they actually didn't have marketing plans either, because just like the city not having an economic development plan because business was so good, it was the same thing for the retailers on State Street. So as we recruit and move forward and create a promotion, we need businesses that understand how to promote to locals and visitors and actually have a marketing plan to do that. I think that collaborating with all the stakeholders, I mentioned economic engines. The list is much longer than just the environment and art and culture. It's health and wellness, it's education, it's architecture. These organizations have energy and we need to create synergy with them. Like the university, bringing arts and lectures to town. Most people do not realize that they spend millions of dollars to promote our city and to bring town and gown together. We need to look at that sort of energy.
Time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question will be our last question of the evening. And this question is, what investments in city infrastructure do you favor? And for this, we will begin with Matt Kilrain. 90 seconds, Matt?
That is so awesome that you give me this question, because that's what I was just talking about. I will invest in science to begin with. For those of you that trust the science, we'll turn a desalination plant into an air purifier with my smog bong system, to where we will take air from the freeway and we'll take water from the ocean and we'll desalinate the water and we'll blow the air through the freeway, from the freeway through the desalinated water, and the water will capture the carbon and cleaner air will bubble out of the water. And when the water captures the carbon will be used for fertilizer for the nearby fruit trees. Okay, now we can take that a step further and just pump the air straight into the ocean, and the ocean will defuse the air. It will separate the carbon from the air. Now, carbon, by the way, is a good thing. Everything is made out of carbon, including us. The thing about it is, you got to figure out where you want the carbon. In your lungs is not a good place. In the roots of trees is a good place. So if we separate the carbon from the air, put it in the water, if we blow it straight into the ocean, the kelp can absorb the carbon, and then we can feed the kelp to cattle. A small amount of kelp to cattle will reduce methane emissions by 60%. That's infrastructure.
Thank you. Randy Rouse, same question, please. 90 seconds.
So I was a signatory on the Measure C issue, which is a little antithetical for me to be favoring a tax, but I knew that we needed it because we had our failing infrastructure and failing roads. So the investments I would make immediately would be, once again, to clean downtown, but also to complete the Library Plaza, to finally redevelop De La Guerra Plaza and get the police station done. These are almost broken window situations. Merchants and our property owners to clean up their act and look at their own properties. I think we need to do our part too. And those infrastructure investments are what the taxpayers had in mind when they overwhelmingly supported Measure C. They gave us a list of priorities, and getting those things done was extremely important. We have water and wastewater and desal capacities that are really expensive to maintain and expensive to run. And now with sea level rise, we're going to have to figure out exactly how we're going to maintain those given the worst case scenarios. And I think whether or not you believe in the worst case scenarios, I believe we have to plan for those. So those will also be some very serious infrastructure capital investments that we'll need to make. We need to make them pretty soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Deborah Schwartz, the same question, please. 90 seconds.
First, I'm concerned how the mayor and council utilized Measure C funding for homelessness. And homelessness is a critical crisis. The reason Measure C funds were tapped is because there was lack of proactive strategic planning as the homeless crisis has grown. Voters intended, as Randy pointed out, Measure C to in fact be utilized for infrastructure. We have an aging system. that is very clear throughout our roadways, but infrastructure is not the answer in terms of simple repairing of our roads. We have a disconnected set of systems in terms of how people are transported around the city. And in that we're a 90% built out city nestled between the ocean and the mountains, we need an integrated system of options for transportation. And that includes greater partnerships with our Metropolitan Transit District. When I met with the general manager some time ago, I was surprised to hear that City Hall was not in discussion with MT about participating in a larger strategic transportation planning system. And I think that's the only way we're going to be able to look at roadways and pathways for those who want to or need to use various modes of transportation.
Time.
Lastly, thank you.
Time. Thank you. Mark Whitehurst, the same question, please. 90 seconds.
I believe we need to finish the police department. Measure C was sold on that, and it's still simmering. I don't think there's been a final decision made. But Measure C has been very beneficial. I know I serve on the Park and Recreation Community Foundation, and we helped fund with Measure C funds, the renovation of the Cabrillo Pavilion, something that was very, very important. Our buildings are a very important part of our infrastructure, just like the 50 parks that the city has. I think that is a part of our infrastructure that doesn't just lend beauty and health, but it is something that needs to be cared for in a much larger way. It is an infrastructure need. I would have to say that I recently read about Ithaca, New York, who put together, like what was mentioned earlier, a private and a public program to create a carbon neutral loans for workforce housing and for commercial buildings. And it's been working very successfully. And it would be something that would be very helpful. And I think we should look at carbon neutral as our infrastructure to our city, as well as sustainability as a part of who we are as a city and underneath the foundation for building forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Lastly for this question, Kathy Murillo, 90 seconds, same question.
I also support completing the new police station. And to go back to the public safety question, we need to accept the fact that law enforcement is changing. The people have asked for that. They want to be safe in a different way. To talk about police reform is not disrespectful to the police. So I'm looking forward to a new era in law enforcement. Measure C, it pays for roads and sidewalks, very needed in neighborhoods where kids actually walk to school. Our bike project at Modoc and Las Positas, I'm very excited about that. The city's doing great projects. There's a big project at the wastewater plant related to the electrical systems. And if that doesn't sound very exciting, just imagine if your toilet didn't work and our collection system didn't work, we would be in a lot of trouble. We're sharing our desal water with Montecito. That's a huge project that I support. And I'll just close with libraries because I'm such an advocate for libraries and children and senior citizens and everybody who benefits from the library. Yes, the Library Plaza project, awesome. We're doing a new elevator in the Central Library, and we're creating a teen space on the second floor of the Central Library. And I'm just so proud that under my leadership, we created a new children's library. So when conditions allow, we're all going to be back in the library. Thank you.
Thank you. That was our last question. And each candidate will now have 2 minutes for a closing statement. Since our opening statements began with Kathy Murillo, we will reverse the order and start the closing statements with Mark Whitehurst. Mark, your closing statement, please, 2 minutes.
My community connections run deep. As the publisher of a local paper, I have been a philanthropist, a sponsor, and a hands-on volunteer. I have served as president, twice as treasurer, 13 years on the executive committee, and currently the marketing chair of the largest business organization in Santa Barbara, downtown Santa Barbara. Protecting our urban forests by planting 12,000 trees and boosting art and art events, Santa Barbara Beautiful has been my main nonprofit interest, where I have served for 25 years in many capacities, including president, treasurer, and bottle washer. I have also served on the Park and Recreation Committee, Community Foundation, like I just mentioned. We also oversee the Douglas Preserve, and I can't say enough about the good work that that foundation does. I'm a community builder, and I want to help improve Santa Barbara. Please consider me for your vote for mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Deborah Schwartz, you're next, please. Your closing statement, 2 minutes. Deborah, you are next.
Sorry, I couldn't come off mute for a moment. Thank you. Tonight, you may have heard some similarities and probably clear differences among the candidates. I am running for Santa Barbara City Mayor because among all 6 candidates, I believe I uniquely have the skills, knowledge, and an action orientation to ensure that leadership is restored to City Hall as we face these multitude of critical crossroads. The mayor and council have had their chance, and they've achieved 2 in effectively addressing growing crises now facing our city, and the time for change is now. I mentioned this is my last year on the City Planning Commission, and we know, and I've demonstrated, that long debates without clear, decisive action is not serving the public well, and that has continued to happen at the mayor and council under the current city leadership. I am ready, day one, to lead us forward. And with that, I want to lead again and to the community members who have been watching, and I would be honored to have your vote November 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you. Randy Rouse, you are next up for your closing statement, please. 2 minutes.
Well, once again, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for presenting us with this opportunity tonight. In addition, I'd like to acknowledge my fellow candidates for putting themselves out there and for engaging in this important challenge. All of the issues, plans, and policies discussed tonight are inextricably tied to one factor. One common factor is leadership. Without that direction, nothing can move forward. The organization cannot function, and we find ourselves in the situation we're in right now. There have been disasters, a pandemic, and retail difficulties, and those have been big challenges. And while we can hope that there'll be no further black clouds on the horizon, that would be a fool's vision, and we would leave us horribly unprepared. By leveraging the assets we do have, both in our organization and the willing participants in our community, we can achieve our most optimistic dreams and beyond. But that can't happen if outside influences, partisan loyalties, and stubborn ideologies get in the way. Our council members are individuals, and they all have their individual talents, but there must be leadership that brings them together to function as a team. Local politics has far more to do with our day-to-day quality of life than anything that happens in Washington, D.C. or Sacramento. We tend to dismiss the antics in those capitals as self-interested and undesirable. That should never be the case in your city hall. The walls of that building should not be considered a fortress or an edifice of refuge for those who represent us. Voting and participating will be your voice in the direction of the city. It counts, and this time around it counts as much as ever. Please take the time to vote in November, and please cast your vote for me, Randy Rouse, for mayor. I will never forget who I work for. Thank you.
Thank you. Matt Kilrain, your closing statement, please. 2 minutes.
Okay, first of all, I'm not really running against Mayor Murillo, and I've stated that she's the most blessed in this entire town. And this is a significant coin that she may or may not know something about. I've stressed, and I love Santa Barbara, and it's not some crap hole. Our town is in good shape, okay? The people are in pretty good shape. We can bring them up to a higher level than where they are. There's only a few haters and angry, scared people that are bringing us down. But for the most part, the people are in good spirits and our town's in good shape. Now, that's not the rest of the state and the rest of the country. The rest of our state, California, and the rest of our country, the United States of America, is in really bad shape. And the problem is all their problems are coming to us. And I'm sorry, Mayor Murillo, I just don't think you have what it takes to fend off what's, and you've done a great job so far. And I'm very proud of the way you've dealt with these emergency situations. And Mayor Murillo, I think you should have my phone number on your phone, because we don't know when the crap's gonna hit the fan. But when it does, I've proven in front of everybody dozens of times that I'm an expert at handling emergency situations. That's when I shine, that's when I'm good. During the microburst, during the fire, during the flood. I mean, that's when I know how to handle myself. That stuff's nothing compared to what we're gonna get. These earthquakes, they're going around the world, these tsunamis, these volcanoes blowing up. The stuff's coming our way. I don't know what you know about deep underground military bases, but they're beneath Santa Barbara, okay? And they're not our friends. The military beneath Santa Barbara.
Time.
The stuff going on down there ain't good.
Thank you. And last on closing statements will be Kathy Murillo. 2 minutes, please.
Thank you.
Kathy?
Thank you. To the good people of Santa Barbara, I humbly ask for your vote and the opportunity to continue to serve as your mayor. Together we have faced historic and unprecedented challenges, but we have faced those challenges head on and have built a stronger, more resilient Santa Barbara. Facing a once-in-a-century pandemic, we quickly transitioned the city online assistance for businesses and renters. We opened the State Street Promenade. We cut red tape. We helped small businesses recover. As Santa Barbara and our state is facing a housing crisis, we've taken action. I've brought housing downtown, and we've passed strong protections for renters just this week for people, senior citizens who live in mobile home parks. We initiated the Safe Shelter program that moves people from camps into bridge housing. It is working. We've taken important steps to bring the highest level of accountability to our police department. And our city has continued to be a national leader in fighting climate change. Our Community Choice Energy program will put us on the path to 100% carbon-free energy before the rest of the state. My vision for Santa Barbara is a city that offers housing security and job opportunities, good paying jobs with upward mobility for women, people of color, and youth. A city of well-educated residents who benefit from affordable health care. Yes, I belong to Mayors for Medicare for All. Affordable housing, affordable childcare services. A city with robust library and recreation services for our families. As your mayor, I can promise that I will continue to work hard for you and that I will ensure that Santa Barbara is a wonderful and inclusive place to live and work. Thank you for your vote. I appreciate it. Thanks.
That was our last closing statement. I want to thank all of the candidates for participating tonight. I think you have given a great deal of information to the voters, and I think it was very worthwhile for everyone involved. And to those who are watching, thank you very much for watching. The election date is Tuesday, November 2nd, 2021. All voters in the city of Santa Barbara will be receiving a ballot with prepaid postage to vote on a mayoral candidate. In addition to the citywide mayoral race, voters in districts 4, 5, and 6 will also be electing a council member to represent their respective district. Only Districts 4 and 6 have contested races. Mail-in ballots must be postmarked by November 2nd. With the ballots, voters will also receive information about the locations of in-person polling places on Election Day and the locations of official drop boxes for ballots. Please visit the California Secretary of State website at voterstatus.sos.ca.gov, it's on the screen below me, to check your registration status or to register to vote. Also, please visit the City Elections webpage at www.santabarbaraca.gov, currently on the screen, for more information about this specific election. Thank you all for being with us tonight, and good night.